have this up. This is our agenda for today, just as people are filtering in. I'm going to quickly cover some of the stuff that's new in typing.com. We will have Brent, who is our tech person, cover some of the student rostering options. Molly, who is our curriculum specialist, will talk about standards alignment and our Beyond Typing curriculum. And In from sales, will talk about plus features. So that's the five of us that are in this call. Sean is also helping me on the tech side with moderation and hopefully funneling your questions to us wherever we find them. We have received a bunch of questions ahead of time. Thanks to all of you who signed up. I think we have close to 300 people that signed up. And a lot of you did submit questions ahead of time. So we have those in a separate document and we will cover those. Again, we'll try to get through a lot of these topics relatively expeditiously so that we can get to your questions and spend as much time on that as possible. So thanks again for coming, everyone. Right. I am going to get started. I'll start slowly so that we can still allow more people to come in if they're joining us. And one second. Just by way of introductions, my name is Adrian. I am the sort of the product guy for typing.com here at teaching.com. My teaching.com shirt is in the wash currently, so forgive me. But I'll cover product related stuff, and we've got a bunch of new things that we've introduced in the latter half of the school year, last school year. So probably from February onward that you may not have heard of and should be aware of heading into the new school year. And Molly, I'll let her briefly introduce herself.
Hey everybody, I'm Molly, the curriculum director here at typing.com. So I'll be talking to you guys about all sorts of things related to standards and content, and how you can align it with what you might already be teaching in your classroom.
Cool. And then you want to do a quick intro of yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am the territory manager for the Southern states. I am happy to answer anything sales related. Hopefully, if you are using our free version after this webinar, you are convinced to upgrade to Plus. Thanks so much for joining.
Cool. And hey, Brent, your turn.
Hey everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am the head of engineering on typing.com. So I will be answering any technical questions, so feel free to reach out.
And Sean, I didn't list you here, but you're my co-host because you know much more technically than I do about this kind of stuff. So go ahead and speak up.
No problem. Thanks for that. Similar to I'm also on our sales team. I'm happy to help out with any questions related to the product, related to what Plus offers in the platform, how to use the product, and hope to connect with several of you after the webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Great stuff. And as I mentioned, for those of you that maybe weren't on when I was running through this, this is the agenda for today. I won't go over all of this again because I just did, but what I will cover first is what's new, what has potentially changed since the last time you saw typing.com or maybe checked in with it at the beginning of the year. And I'll get into that right now. Let me just do this. What's new? All right. So in case you missed it, Molly will touch on this a little bit later on, but we have AI lessons now. So this has been a thing that's been requested quite repeatedly a lot over the last year or so in terms of, and I'll let her get into the sort of the breakdown of how it goes by age group and how we've broken it up across the curriculums, but really just teaching responsible use of AI, introducing students to AI in a safe and informative way. We've launched an accessibility feature, actually a number of them, and this one is actually quite comprehensive. I will very quickly bring this one up. So if you go to student options, and actually class options as well, you now have accessibility features. Let me just quickly bring it up, actually. So if you go into a particular student and open up their settings, you now have a settings panel called accessibility. So that includes things like a dyslexic friendly font, high contrast theme for students with vision impairment, dictation enablement by default. This is also really, really interesting. We had a lot of requests for this right-handed and left-handed typing options. So if you've got a student that maybe had an accident over summer and hurt their left hand, well, you can enable right-hand typing only. So when they sign in, they'll only have that right hand up on the screen on the on-screen keyboard. And yeah, closed captions enabled by default, that sort of stuff. So also a reminder that we are WCAG 2.2 compliant. So we've really leaned in heavily into the accessibility lately. So if you haven't caught up on that recently, that is what's new on that in that regard. Custom lesson sharing is another big one that we've enabled. Let me just very quickly pull that one up. I told the group I wouldn't get too in depth here, but I lied. Oh, all right. Well, I don't have a custom lesson. I'm going to very quickly create one so I can show you. Oh, I can't do it in this account. All right. Well, I lied. I'm not going to show it right now. There is a little share icon on your custom lessons that lets you copy a link to share that lesson with anybody you want. They don't have to be in your school. They could be anyone that, even if they're not using typing.com yet, it'll prompt them to set up a typing.com account, and they can take that lesson and add it to their custom lesson library and then use it with their students. So this is a fantastic way for you to share a custom lesson you've created or get a lesson that somebody else has created for use in your own class. So this was another feature request we had that we're really excited about, and I hope everyone uses it. You can find that again in your custom lessons. It's just a little share icon. Plus license usage reporting. There were oftentimes people would be confused as to which students are using their licenses. And now you can just bring that up and you can see, which students have licenses, which students will get licenses when they sign in next, and perhaps which students are not currently covered by a license. You can also find this information right here on each student's profile within the teacher portal, which makes it really easy. If for some reason you've noticed a student isn't seeing the lessons you want them to see, oftentimes that can be because they don't have the license that allows them to see the Beyond Typing curriculum. This is a very common thing, and you can sort of debug it this way by looking at that plus license usage report. We've launched assignable only custom lessons. So what this means is if you create a custom lesson and you want it only to be visible within the context of an assignment, which is a plus feature, you can now do that right off the bat. You don't have to hide them from that particular student curriculum. Often, that was what you'd have to do is like go into a particular curriculum and hide something by, going to the lessons and turning them on and off and that sort of stuff. You don't have to do that anymore. You can create a custom lesson and have it only show up within the context of an assignment. And assignments, of course, being these guys right there. So restrict games until goals are met. This is a feature we added a few months ago. So you can now, within your class settings, let me just back out of there. You can make it so until your students meet their daily goal, games are not allowed to be played. That's any games within typing.com. So keeping them focused on obviously meeting their typing goals before they start playing games. And then we have a new report type, which is meant to show sort of before and after improvement. And it is test improvement summary. So there's a number of rows here, but basically the idea is that it will show a student's improvement from the first time they've taken a particular test. So this is not just our standard typing test, but also our custom content typing tests that you've created will also show up here. And then you can see, their first attempt, their most recent attempt, their best attempt, how many attempts overall they've taken, and the particular dates of each. So it's a really easy way for you to maybe very quickly assess who is maybe not improving as much as you'd like versus overperforming, if you will. So That can be fantastically useful for generating reports for parents at the end of the semester, or just keeping track of your students' improvement over time.
Hey, Adrian, there
And
was a quick question in the chat.
yep.
I was going to answer it, but I think this one's going to be relevant to a lot of people listening, so I'll just
Mhm.
bring it up. Annalise was asking, are students able to view that summary? So perhaps you can go over what results students themselves can view. And I know there's kind of some privacy issues probably with students seeing the results of other students. So maybe you could kind of point out the difference there.
Yeah, totally. So students don't have that exact view, but let me just quickly log in as a student here. Students are able to view progress in a number of different ways. We've really buffed up their My Progress screen here. They can also select it between certain dates to see their progress. Uh, you've got the class scoreboard, obviously, that you can view this week and last week. So we've added those options there, this week and that week. And you've also got all their achievements. But as far as their that specific view is not available to them, we are looking at doing something similar to that on the student side, though.
Cool.
And there's a graph somewhere that I'm just not finding right now.
Test
For
page.
this test, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Brent. There you go. So this particular student that I've loaded up here doesn't have any actual typing results, but you would see their graphed results here if I had loaded up a student with typing results. That's interesting. Yeah. No, I'm not getting any results right now. So they can see their graphed improvement over time in that regard. Thanks, John, for highlighting that question. I'm doing a bad job of actually following along the questions as I present stuff. Anything else before I move on from just that very quick overview?
I think that was it for the moment. But
Okay.
I'll jump in as other questions roll in. And please do, guys, don't be shy about putting questions in the chat or in the Q&A. We'll try to get to everything. And then we have, as Adrian mentioned, a dedicated Q&A section toward the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to move quickly through this. So definitely if there's stuff that I just glossed over and you need us to drill down on it, add it to the chat or the Q&A, and then we'll circle back on it. But right now, Brent is going to screen share a bit through student rostering options, as I know this is something that comes up a lot. We have a lot of different ways to roster your students within typing.com, and it's always changing, it seems like. So, Brent, it's all yours.
Yeah. So student rostering, this is probably a really big deal right now, coming up with the new school year. Adrian, I was actually just planning on showing the slides that you had on there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Totally
My
fine.
bad. I will totally do that.
The PowerPoint presentation is fantastic. It'll work great for this. So
cool.
Let's first talk about what options you have available as a free typing.com user. This goes across the board for districts, schools, or just single teachers using the product. We have manually inputting everything. So you can just manually add schools, you can manually add classes or students. When you do this, there's self-join links, there's adding multiple students at once, there's importing if you have a CSV file of students. Now, if you want to use another a third-party tool for rostering, such as Google, Clever Library, Microsoft Teams, let's say you already have your classes loaded in there, typing.com offers a sync option for you. So after you've signed in with any of those SSO options, you may sync at any time. We have a button that you manually click it. You click it and it pulls your classes from one of those services into typing.com, all of your students, all your classes. Now, let's talk about the paid options we have for roster syncing, which you can go to, thank you, are Clever and ClassLink. These tools allow you to import your entire district into Clever ClassLink if you're not familiar with them. And then typing.com every night will go out to Clever, go out to ClassLink, grab your entire roster, district admins, schools, teachers, classes, students, and pull all that down and make sure that typing.com matches what's in one of those rostering systems. So it's a really easy way to get all your classes and students inputted into typing.com if you use these rostering options. Trying to make it quick. So that's all I'll say about that. If you have further questions about rostering, please put them in the Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. Like one of the things often people have questions about are just like where to find the sync options and for things like Google Classroom and that sort of stuff. And there is like a little, I think it's a green button, Brent, that will let you do that type of manually syncing and we can bring that up later and show that potentially. But if you have any other more granular questions about roster syncing, please
Let me
put them in
add
the
one
chat.
thing that we get in a lot of conversations. Um, a lot of folks know that we have a free platform or free version of the platform as well. So the question sometimes comes up, oh, if there's a free version of the platform, why would I pay for rostering, right? And so I always like to point out one of the big value adds of the rostering is the ease for teachers, right? So it's handled at more of the district level, which means teachers just don't have to upload their students or upload their classes or really do any of that, right? If they're going to have access to typing.com using one of those rostering methods, the district just selects the class or the schools and then it's done. All of the students are put in there and the classes are put in there automatically. So it really just avoids them having any updates, right? Student leaves halfway through the year, that's updated in your SIS, that update will carry through to typing.com, right? Same if a student gets added. The other big thing is that when having our plus license, it's not just the rostering. The rostering is something that you get, but it's all the rest of the plus content, which I know is a big section that we'll get to kind of uh, in a few minutes here.
Cool. Thanks, Sean. All right. So next up is Molly with some chat about standards alignment and how typing.com curriculum aligns with state standards.
Yeah. Adrian, I'm going to share my screen if
That's
that's
right.
okay, so that
Let
I
me just
can
get out of
show
that.
you. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk to you guys a bit, like Adrian said, about standards correlations and standards alignment. So I was a teacher for a long time, and I know that it's really important to have a product that aligns with your state standards. If you've seen our state standards in the past, previously they were just listed as PDFs, and now we've made this interactive map. And a lot of our standards that are state specific are also a bit more interactive. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. Um, if you're in a state that has Common Core standards, I'm going to click on California since that's where I am. Uh, it will pop up and it'll look like this. You can, so here's our states over here in a drop down, and then you can choose your grade level curriculum. So let's say we're looking at fifth grade, and you can see all of the Common Core standards that we align with are listed here, and then the lessons that they align within. So you can scroll down here, you can expand them, you can collapse them down. Just as a quick note, we align with obviously a lot of technology application type standards, but also a lot of cross-curricular standards as well, especially in our plus offerings. So this should make it easy. You can decide what lessons will meet the standards that you're looking for. And then I'll show, let's see, another one that has state specific. If we were looking at New York, there's another one that has state specific standards. Um, so if you have state specific standards and you on the drop down don't see them displayed like this, you see the PDF, just know we are in the process of mapping all of these standards to this new sort of functionality. So if yours are just in a PDF, we are going to get there and they will eventually look like this. Okay, so I'm going to transition into talking about our next topic. Also, if there's any more questions about standards and alignment, please type them in the chat. Standards can get we can get really in the weeds with standards, and so I don't want to spend too much time talking about all of those. All right, so let's look at what is in our Beyond Typing curriculum and our curriculum page. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen this if you use our grade-based curriculum, which I highly encourage everyone to use. It is paced by the grade level. It is grade specific, age appropriate for those kids, and really is a plug and play type of curriculum. The kids can log in, they can work at their own pace. You can assign where you want to. But it's really tailored to those individual grade levels, which is awesome. So let's look here at fourth grade. So if you open up our fourth grade curriculum, as a teacher, this is what you'll see. You can see here, this is everything that's free that we offer. Learn the keys through some cross-curricular typing, which is where I said we meet some other cross-curricular standards, especially ELA standards, and even some math ones as well. But our beyond typing section is really where things ramp up as far as additional standards that we meet. So, namely in digital citizenship and communication. So, this is why our grade specific curriculum is so great because we have so much content in here that is really geared towards specific grade levels and what's appropriate. So, as a teacher, if you come in here, say you're looking for a digital citizenship lesson, maybe you want to be working with your kids about online behavior, you can preview the lessons here. If you click, it'll show you what everything is going to look like that your students will see. And then you'll know what they're working on. So this, for example, is one of our scenario-based activities where kids will actually, oh, no, I'm in password privacy, sorry. Here we go. Where students actually are led through a scenario and they make choices based on what is the best decision in terms of digital citizenship. So all sorts of stuff in here. Adrian mentioned we also have some AI literacy lessons. Currently in fourth grade, we have a couple in here just giving kids an idea of what AI is and how to use it responsibly and safely. We are going to soon be adding a final lesson to this, or final at least for now, that will actually give kids the opportunity to practice sort of a simulation of typing back and forward with an AI chatbot. So look forward for that. Finally, in here, we have a creative writing section, some timed writing options, which is great for test prep, computer applications, and then, like I mentioned, test prep. So I'm going to jump into a different curriculum. I know I'm going fast because I want to make sure we have time for everything. But if we look at eighth grade and go into our test prep section, so this whole unit is really in response to hearing teachers say that their students are not prepared for standardized tests that are online now. So there's a section on vocab that is frequently seen in online testing, reading comprehension, which is a very, very big component. Build your own story is practice for kids typing their own content, sort of Mad Lib style, and then transitioning really nicely into our written response, which has short answer essay questions, which are much longer, and then timed response. So kids will need to plan what they're going to type and then actually type it out, which is something that I know a lot of schools are struggling with their students. So, and then finally, I just was going to touch on starting in third grade, we have my mistake, starting now in kindergarten, we have coding. That's a new add. It used to be in just the older grades, but we have it in all grades now in our Beyond Typing section. So here you can see we have a nice little introduction to coding. It's grade specific. So if you were to go back to our kindergarten curriculum, you would see that our coding is more based on patterns and sequences up through, like I said, eighth grade that gets more into variables, algorithms, and then actually some text-based coding as well. So lots in our Beyond Typing section. Hopefully that convinces a lot of people who are currently free users to explore our Plus curriculum. And if you have any more questions about any of the things that I very quickly went over, please type them in the chat. We can dive into any of these a little bit deeper if you want to know more.
Yeah, Molly, we did have a couple questions come in as you were speaking. One of them is asking about the average time for a lesson. I think we were speaking briefly about that
Yes.
prior. She said she's planning to use it for her computer science curriculum. So maybe you could address that a little bit.
Yeah. Let me so currently some of you what my guess is that you're seeing over here is the time estimates. We are in the process, I am in the process of currently going through every single grade curriculum and breaking down by the lesson level how long it should take a typical student to complete that. Up here, you can see we have an estimated words per minute, depending on that grade level. And that's based on data that we actually have. So that changes if you go back here to kindergarten. I was a kindergarten teacher, and I can tell you this is pretty accurate to say that a kindergartner is typing ideally between a 6 and 14 word per minute rate. So, anyways, yes, we will be going through this and getting you a better estimate very soon. Um, Definitely before the school year starts, on how long it's going to take kids to complete this. And then, sort of also related to that, and I know we had a question about this. Somebody was saying about how long do you recommend, or how often do you recommend that we use it? And ideally, if you could, I mean, I know how hard it is to fit this into a classroom schedule. Um, a little practice every day is great. If what you can do is 5 minutes a day at the end of class or before class starts every day, if you practice 3 times a week for 15 minutes, that's awesome. I would say at least, 3 times a week would be the goal. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks,
Thanks.
Molly. Was there anything else,
And
Sean, or was that it?
not on that one at the
Okay,
moment. I see some other questions. Monette, I see your question. We'll get to that for sure if that's a question we're going to get to. So don't feel that it's been ignored.
awesome, good.
And then, you know what?
We
There was one other question. I'm not sure I understand it completely, but I think I've got it. Just as will there be an open screen option? So, Kiva, let me know in the chat if this isn't what you meant, but I think you're asking about perhaps the types of screen that students might see. One of the types that they could see is where you can ask whatever question you want, right? So sort of an open-ended question, and then students write their response rather than typing what's on the screen, right? So we have a few different types of typing screens. Some are shorter sentences, some are, one letter at a time. Others are longer kind of paragraphs. And then you can create in that custom lessons, which I think we'll cover a little bit more in depth, where you can ask any question and have them write their answer to it. So I believe that's what you're asking. If not, please do follow up in the chat, and we'll be sure to cover it as well.
what Sean's referencing here is the custom lesson type for written response prompts. Is that what I've got on screen here? Is that correct? Is that what you're talking about, Sean?
That's what I understood it as. So we'll see if there's a
Got it.
they can type on the blank screen and have it be timed. So sort of just to, I guess, type
Yeah.
a longer text and just know, I suppose, how many words they've typed
Yeah. We don't currently have anything for
in a
that.
specific amount of
Um,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, rather than just, how much can they type in the time, we do have those open responses where you can set the limit of how many words. So if you want them to type, at least 100-word response, for example, you can set it like that to make sure that their response is of a certain length.
Yeah. There's that word count
And
right
then
there.
with a time limit there, right? So you can,
Yeah.
instead of timing them, you could say, hey, I need at least 100 words, and I'm giving them 3 minutes to do it, for example.
Yeah. Whatever 3 minutes is in seconds. There we go.
Or yeah, makes you do a little bit of math in there.
That was tough. Very stressful doing that live. Okay, next up, In is going to go through some of the plus features versus what you get in the free version, and these are I believe, our last couple slides before we get into Q&A. So if you wanted to load up the Q&A, and we've also, as I mentioned, got a bunch of questions that were submitted ahead of time. So we will go through those as well. Thank you to everyone who did that. But I'll let you take this over now.
Excellent. So, one of the primary reasons why you want to upgrade to Plus, and if you want to capture their words per minute and their accuracy real time, there is latency with the ad based version, which is the free version. So, for schools and teachers that really value the accurate time, typing speed and accuracy for the student, going ad free is the way. There's no distracting ads, and it's a closed environment for your school, classroom, or district. So Manette, those ads that are inappropriate, you can actually do away with that by upgrading to Plus. So that's one of the perks. As far as the beyond typing, it's all the computer and digital literacy lessons you gain from typing.com. So not only are we going to teach your students the mechanics of typing, we're actually going to teach them computer literacy, how to create Word docs, how to create slides and presentations. So this becomes all around a one-stop shop, well, one-stop program for your school or your class to implement without having extra programs to fill in the gaps. As far as the reporting, we have classroom, so teacher level reporting, campus level reporting for each of the grade levels, and district wide reporting. This is all calculated and the reporting that's built in. So as long as there's data, student data to pull, those are some of the analytics that you will see. The secure, so we get a lot of, is your program secure in terms of student data privacy? If you upgrade to the plus, we're absolutely compliant, and we do not share any of the student data. Um, Another perk is the ability to assign certain parts of the curriculum. So if you are needing to complete digital citizenship as part of your state mandate or one of the standards, you can assign that to ensure that your students complete that part of the curriculum. More perks are, let's see, monitor students real time. So without having to walk around each computer, you can monitor the student progress, and this data refreshes in the teacher portal every 30 seconds. You can also set grading if you wanted an ABCD letter grade or a point system for your students to earn for practicing typing. Those are some of the features that you can set in the class settings page in the teacher portal. Student level settings. Yes. So if you have a student who is advanced, or you want to set a different parameter from the rest of the class, you can absolutely personalize their goals or how long you want them to type for, or even their curriculum. Because when you purchase our Plus curriculum, you get all of it. You're not just purchasing for your grade level. You get K through 12, adult learner, Spanish, and Portuguese. You get it all. So you can assign any of those curriculum to your students and personalize it that way. Next screen, Adrian.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
Furthermore, more of the plus perks is that you can create individualized or custom lessons to align with classroom instruction. An example I give for the early elementary teachers is you can use our program as a spelling tool. So weekly spelling quizzes, it really does help the student learn the correct spelling, and it helps with the literacy because they're having to search the keys in the order that it goes in, and it really helps with their spelling skills. So that's and then for pre-readers, so kindergarten through first grade, if they're learning to read, we have a read aloud feature. So the instructions will be spoken to them so they can follow along. As far as so this is more of a district setting, but the curriculum team can come in here and create open-ended short answer and essay questions in preparation for the state testing. This could be implemented grade-wise across the district. So if you have a third grade curriculum um, admin that wants to create third grade test prep type questions, it could be created in the third grade curriculum as a custom lesson, and then everyone in all the third grade across your district can access those lessons. We also have a computer applications unit, and this teaches students how to create Word docs and spreadsheets and presentations. So it's more of a how-to guide, but in doing that, you're also helping with class projects and papers, whatever it may be. We have a creative writing section that really does set us apart from our competitors. And this is where, okay, so we taught the students how to type. Now, what do they type? Get them in the practice of expressing their thoughts typed. And that way, when the year-end state test comes up, they are ready for it. They've done it before every week with their teacher. So this is something that will really help them perform well on the state testing. We also have digital citizenship lessons. With the access to the internet, these students need to know how to surf the web safely, how to surf the web for information that they need for their class projects. And so that's designed by Molly, and it is actually age correlated and grade level correlated as well. We have a test prep unit, and this is to familiarize students with online testing. Um, it is generic, it is not state specific. However, we did kind of gather some of the test prep vocab and to for math, ELA, social studies, all of that for the grade level that they belong to. We also have reading comprehension followed by multiple choice questions. And lastly, for the secondary grade levels, we have CTE lessons. A lot of the middle schools and high school business classes adopt our plus curriculum to really help them with resume writing, job application prep, and also college application prep. That's it from me. Any questions?
No questions specifically on that. I wanted
Okay.
to add a little bit. Adrian, can you actually just go back to that screen?
Yes, sir.
Um, on the custom lessons and with the curriculum team being able to align it, I think that's just such a great point. We've had so many great conversations with teachers who come on and they say, "Oh, so we could actually use this in insert class here." One of the challenges they often have is where to fit typing into their day to day, right? The school day is already jam packed with, so many things going on that they don't always have the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to actually find that 15 minutes 3 days a week as a separate typing class. But the ability to make it cross curricular to say, hey, we're in a biology class with the kiddos, they're learning about mammals, and so we can actually create typing screens that include all the animals they're learning, facts about it, stuff directly from their other parts of their curriculum as the typing screens. And then suddenly it fits right into their day because they say, oh, well, they're actually, doing two birds with one stone here. They're covering that mammals, really reinforcing those ideas through those custom lessons. So using typing as kind of the conduit to cover some of the other material and really reinforce that, right? So it really makes it very easy to fit into the day that way and to stay completely aligned with everything else the kiddos are learning throughout the day.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thanks, Sean. All right, we are on to Q&A time, and I've seen a bunch of things popping up here, and I think that everyone on our crew can see a lot of these questions that have come up. And I know while everyone's sort of filtering through those to figure out what they want to tackle, I noticed a question that was asked ahead of time was, how do I set up a district admin account? I know not everybody is in this situation, so we won't spend too much time on this, but Brent, what would, really, I know you know the specific needs of this user, but like what would you say is the best way to set up a DA account, and does it include teacher join links?
Yeah, that's a great question. First you want to know, or I'd want to know what rostering system you're planning on using. So if you're using Clever or ClassLink, all of that stuff would just be set up automatically for you when you start using typing.com. If you're not going down that route and you're manually adding or inputting your school and classes, then you would want to go to the sign up page and sign up for a district. Signing up for a district gives you the ability to add schools, teachers, classes, the whole gamut. And you're a district admin, so you get to see reporting across all the schools. Now, as Adrian mentioned, there's a new way to invite teachers into your district. And so once you create this district account, you can start adding teachers by getting a join code for them and just sending an email out to your staff. And they can click on that link and they'll automatically be added into your district account. So
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Right there.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Anybody else have a question they want to grab and answer? From talking to our team.
While folks perhaps type some questions or add them to the Q&A, and please do, I'll go ahead and kick things off with a few that came through on the webinar with the live one, and then we can dive into some of the other questions that were given to us ahead of time. So let's start with, let's go with this one here. So Jennifer was asking if we've worked with workforce development entities that they would likely be referring individuals to typing.com to do as a self-paced free program. wondering if we've worked with them before or what the best way would be to structure a class for individuals who enroll in a digital literacy program that they've received a grant for. So I've kind of got a response here, and then maybe, Adrian or In, maybe you want to add a little bit more here. Um, Jennifer, I would say yes. Firstly, we've worked with a lot of, workforce development, alternative high schools, adult education, right? Really across the gamut of different organizations that we've worked for. When it's that case, when it's kind of something that's going to be a little bit more self-paced and that's going to be the individuals kind of taking care of, monitoring their own progress, right? That's one of the nice things about our curriculum is that once it's assigned to a student, they really can do it on their own, right? They log in, they see the first assignment and just start going through them one at a time. So it's really simple for students to kind of take control over their learning in that way. What I would still recommend that's going to be a lot easier, especially when you have a grant, right? Typically, grants require some kind of reporting so you can show what the students that were doing the program have done, is to still set up a class. You can always add individuals to the class and remove them as needed. But by you setting up a class and then adding those individuals to the class, it will be much easier for you to assign the curriculum, which they can then do completely on their own, and for you to see the overall progress of those students individually for your reporting as well. So hopefully that helps answer it. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that one.
Sean, she also had I believe, a follow-up question too to that. That I'm gonna find it.
Oh yeah, I see
It's
here.
about, yeah, an adult learner curriculum. And I was just gonna say, Adrian, if you want to
Pull that up.
showing your screen for a second, I can just show
Yeah, let me just go over here. Sorry, curriculum.
Yeah,
Adult
thanks for
learner.
pointing that
You're
out,
going to
Molly.
it. Okay, great. Perfect. So yeah, so we do have an adult learner curriculum. You can see on the side over here that it is tailored more towards our adult users. So there's a career prep section instead of a cross-curricular section. They also, Adrian, if you scroll down just a little bit, thank you. Our computer applications section there is a bit more robust. And in our career prep section, we also have things like alphanumeric data entry. Our digital communications unit is also geared more towards career prep, time management, resumes, things like that. So I think the question was, I'm trying to find, where was your actual, did we already answer it? Oh yeah, students K through 12. So yes, there's lots that's geared toward our adult users in this grade-based
Yep.
curriculum.
Yep. There was a question from Kindle. Do students roll over to the next grade during the summer, or does that have to be made manually? And that is a manual process in typing.com. And depending on how you're doing it, obviously, if you've got this third grade typing class that was rolling over en masse, then you could just do it with a simple curriculum change here and maybe renaming the class to fourth grade. Otherwise, you're going to have to create a new class and move those students to that new class, depending on what class they're moving to. You can't move
Adrian,
them there.
may I
Yep. Yep.
piggyback off of that? Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for Clever and ClassLink, that will be automatically
Automatic.
done for you. Yep.
That's a good point. Yeah. Most of our users, I guess, are covered in those scenarios, and not, I guess, a large amount are Google Classroom as well. So they'd have to do those themselves. Would they not?
For Google Classroom, it's a click of the button to sync with Google Classroom, then it'll be the latest roster.
Got it. Cool.
Cool. Let's jump to the next one. Catherine here's got a two-part question. It looks like it was, can they enter questions for creative writing and use it as a type of weekly reflection or daily exit ticket? So I think that's going to be covered with that kind of writing prompt screen that you had showed prior, Adrian, a custom lesson there. So perhaps while you show
Yep.
that, I'll kind of talk through it. Catherine, yes, essentially we have this custom lesson, a written prompt type screen. You can make that prompt whatever your, the creative writing prompt, whatever question you'd like them to reflect on, and then have them write it out. What I'm not sure about, and Adrian, hopefully you can answer this one, there was a second part of the question of if they can kind of print out those responses that students type, or perhaps have them logged somewhere.
Well, I mean, do you mean print them out for the student?
I think whatever the students type, as their response to those, I guess kind of where they would be logged.
They're logged here in your written response report type, basically. So let's expand all these. So that, this is literally everything here. So,
Yep. And then and then we can export that report. So they would be able to export that
yeah,
with those responses. There you go.
exactly.
Perfect.
Is it export at the top there? Right. Sorry, right there. So
Perfect. So we'll consider that answered live, done here. And then I'm seeing from Marla, sorry about that. Uh, Teachers may assign a game for an assignment
I think Brent
when you
was
do.
going to answer this one.
Sure,
Yeah.
awesome.
Go ahead,
No,
Brent.
that's all
Can
right.
you
Yeah, Marla,
restate
you
it?
have a great question. Great question about assignments and assigning games to students and what does that mean exactly? So, what we've given you the ability to do is assign a game and then set the amount of time that they need to play that game in order to complete the assignment. And you can also set difficulty level. So you can say, I want you to play at hard for 5 minutes in order to complete this assignment. And so it's really as easy as that. And Adrian's
Okay.
showing you here.
Yeah. In assignment games, you can choose any one of these games. I won't actually be able to create this right now because of the restrictions of the demo account, but go ahead and name it as an assignment. You can see what it might look like because there is actually something in the demo account for this, but this would be an assignment that was created with the Z-type game. And for those of you that haven't seen this, this is sometimes it's a bit weird getting to some of these things, but if you do click on either results or the whole row for an assignment, you will bring up this sort of assignment results screen that's visible throughout the duration of the assignment and afterwards as well. That has a ton of really cool information for you around how students are doing in it and who's completed it and who hasn't.
Cool. Let's keep going through these. I know we're looking at about 10 minutes left if we're trying to keep it to an hour. So let's bring up one from some of the questions that were given to us ahead of time. Nicole had asked, "Can I load my own typing assignments?" I think we've covered that with the custom lessons that you can create those custom lessons. We've got a few different types, right? The shorter screen, longer prompt, your own typing tests related to whatever curricula you've got. We had one from Chris that asks, aside from the custom lessons, how can I provide differentiated options for a grade level curriculum? So I think we briefly touched on this, and you covered a little bit, but maybe we can dive a little bit further into it.
I think I'd have to know more what that meant. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
so I think with differentiated options, you're looking at essentially how do we make things more difficult or less difficult for specific grades or perhaps specific students. So I know we had covered a little bit that you can assign different curricula to each grade, right? So if you have a third grade class but you know that they just type really well and you start doing the third grade curricula and realize it's just too easy for them, you would have the ability to assign the fourth, fifth, or whatever grade actually you think corresponds to their level. And then you can actually do that on an individual student basis as well. So if you've got, most of the fourth grade classes at the fourth grade typing level, but you've got one student who is just way ahead and perhaps one who is, maybe an English language learner who happens to be a little bit behind, you could assign, the fifth grade curricula to one of those students, the second grade curricula to the other, and then leave the rest of the class at their grade level. The other way that you can differentiate is not on the curricula they're seeing, but on the necessary benchmarks to proceed, right? So by that, I mean, if you can set a class-wide benchmark requirement of a certain speed, words per minute, and a certain accuracy in order for them to proceed through each screen. And then to make that a little bit more challenging or less challenging, depending on the student's needs, you can actually make that a higher percentage and higher words per minute or lower, right? So to have the student doing the same curricula, but having to, essentially do it faster and more accurately in order to proceed. So hopefully, I don't know if Chris is on the webinar, I just given that question ahead of time. So hopefully that answers it.
Hey,
We'll
Sean,
send out recordings.
I was going to see if
Sure.
you could jump over to the live to the Q&A because we got a few over there.
Yeah.
There was just one
Yeah. I
that
saw a couple come in.
Yeah, there was one I wanted to quickly answer because I feel like it's a question that we've gotten before, the one from Kathy about structuring it for her 12-week course. She's teaching a high school level. So Kathy, the great thing is that this is all self-paced with your students, so they can really be working at their own speed. If you have students that are brand new to typing or who are more experienced, they can pace it themselves. Um, I will say, it's designed to be used in the order that the units are displayed. So starting with learn the keys and progressing all the way through coding essentials. But that being said, some units take longer than others. So if there are things that are higher priority for you, you can skip, have students skip some of the beyond typing units to get to certain other things. For example, our creative writing unit takes a pretty good chunk of time. And if you really are wanting them to get to computer applications, you could swap those and have your students do computer applications first and do creative writing at the end. So the only thing that really we suggest stays in order is obviously having them do learn the keys, punctuation and advanced keys first. And then beyond that, if you decide you want to mix and match, the progression, that is totally fine. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great. Thank you, Molly. That's awesome. I think we're working down the list of questions now. We might almost have taken care of them. Was there something else that needed to get addressed here, Sean?
Yeah, I think in the Q&A we're all set, and I'm looking through, let's see, workforce development we've talked about, kind of looking through the list of questions and seeing what we have or haven't
I
covered.
I
Oh,
know
we
we're
did. We had one more too about what age level. Sorry, I'm jumping
yeah,
back into our previous ones.
yeah, please.
Do you want me to jump on that one? I can
Yeah,
Go
answer
please.
for
that
it.
quickly. We have a kindergarten curriculum. So if you have kids that are that young, start them that young because it is much easier to teach skills correctly than to have to correct skills that are taught incorrectly. So bad habits are hard to break. So ideally, start your students as young as possible. That being said, there are plenty of students who start in later grades and still can be very successful with typing. And we already kind of talked about how often is ideal to practice. And like I mentioned, we will be getting those time estimates out very soon. So look for those, and that'll give you a better idea of how you can pace the curriculum.
Awesome. Thank you. Sean?
Related to when to start, we had one on how best to set the curriculum from year to year, and if they need to change their grade level each year. I'm not sure we covered that
That was the
earlier or
one I
not.
did my best to explain, I
Where
think.
they kind of like go year by year through it somewhat automatically,
Yeah,
right?
basically, obviously, if you're using rostering services, it's done mostly for you. Otherwise, if you're using manual signups, you've got to kind of manage it yourself and roll students, like take them out of one class and put them in another,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. So we've got the grade-based curriculum. They'll automatically be assigned the kind of corresponding grade. You can override that if you want to give them a more or less difficult curricula, but by default, they would get the corresponding curricula to that grade level. So as long as on your rostering they proceed to a new grade, they'll get the corresponding curriculum to that grade. Okay, we had one on tracking monthly progress through assignments. So I know we've talked a little bit about some of the reporting and some of the tracking. Looking through the questions, I don't see too many others that we haven't hit. So maybe we can review that a little bit, just what some of the reporting and tracking looks like, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously quite an extensive reporting suite. I am a big fan of the test improvement summary as a report style because it really shows you that before and after. But if you're looking to get just a sense of where students are in terms of lesson progress, you can do it this way. You can drill down to particular classes, drill into particular students, and see obviously their entire dashboard, but then go and look at reports on a per student level, obviously on a per class level, or reports across all the classes you manage. Um, you know, obviously the data is all there in a variety of different ways, and at a DA and SA, like a district admin and school admin level, they obviously get different reports because they have different interests, so they can see school usage and teacher usage, activity by school, that sort of stuff. So I encourage you, there's probably too much here to cover in the few minutes we have left, but I encourage you to go through it. As I mentioned, there's that license usage report, class scoreboard, all the written response stuff that will show you what your students have typed in terms of written response, test results, that sort of stuff. Okay. I think we are coming to the end, as I don't want to forget anything. If you are interested, let me just go to it here. There are more resources available to you. You can go to the support section of our site. Obviously, there's a lot of support articles on our Help Scout knowledge base. We obviously have the YouTube channel as well. These are the videos that are embedded throughout the teacher portal that are contextual help, but you can obviously find them as in a directory style there. And if you keep up with the What's New articles, as soon as we launch anything new, we throw it up here. As you can see, even just last week, or no, this past week, we added the ability for you to view student achievements in the teacher portal. So you can see all those achievements your students are hitting in the teacher portal. So this is always being updated, and it's a good place to keep track of what's changing in the product. Anything else before I close out?
Yes, Adrian, one more thing.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
a few questions regarding pricing. We offer volume tiered pricing, so the more
Thank you.
students access you need, the less you're paying for the year. Please send sales@typing.com any quote requests, and the sales rep for your territory will reach out with the quote. So the email is sales@typing.com.
And then there was a question I just saw about, will we receive certificates for our participation? Is that related to
Yes.
this?
So that's the students complete their grade level curriculum, and also for adult learner curriculum. At the end of the program, you can print that they've completed that curriculum.
Figure out where I would find that in your typing tests. I know typing tests allow for the ability of printing out certificates, but that's not what we're talking about here. Anyways, okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and for my co-host for being more knowledgeable than I am on all this stuff. So I appreciate everyone's time today. We'll probably be hosting a few more of these as the school year ramps up. So look for information on those. They'll largely have a similar format, but again, as you get ramped up into the new school year, I'm sure everyone will have more questions, and we're available to answer them. Obviously, support is also around support@teaching.com. So I really appreciate everyone's time this morning. I know we're still technically in summer, so this is very valuable time. Thanks again, and we will talk to everyone very soon.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.